The champagne glasses clinked around me like tiny bells announcing my inadequacy. I stood at the edge of the hotel ballroom, fingers wrapped around the stem of my own untouched glass, watching the annual reunion unfold with the same choreographed perfection it had every year since graduation. The air smelled of expensive perfume and desperation masked as success. Or perhaps that was just me, projecting my own discomfort onto the golden crowd before me. 5 years. 5 years since I'd walked these halls as a student, invisible among the daughters and sons of pack leaders, business moguls, and old money families. 5 years since I'd believed that working twice as hard might earn me half the recognition. The crystal chandeliers cast the same unforgiving light, illuminating designer dresses and tailored suits, making everything, everyone, look like they belonged in a magazine spread about people who mattered. I didn't belong here. I never had. But pride, that stubborn thing that kept me breathing through rejection after rejection, had convinced me to attend, to show him, that I'd survived just fine without their approval. Emma. The voice cut through my thoughts like a blade wrapped in silk. I turned, and there he was. Daniel, my ex-boyfriend, looking exactly as polished and self-satisfied as I remembered, his dark hair perfectly styled, his smile sharp enough to draw blood if you leaned in too close. He approached with that confident stride that came from never having been told no, from never having had to fight for a place at the table because a chair had been waiting since birth. Daniel. I kept my voice neutral, pleasant. The same tone I used with difficult clients at the small law firm where I worked. The one that barely covered rent in my shoebox apartment. His eyes traveled over me in a way that made my skin prickle. Assessment. Judgment. Finding me lacking, no doubt. My dress was simple, cream-colored, elegant, but clearly not designer. My hair, pale blonde and falling in soft waves past my shoulders, was styled simply. No diamonds at my throat. No prestigious surname to drop into conversation like a trump card. You look, well, he said, and somehow made it sound like an insult. Still working at that little firm downtown? The question wasn't curiosity. It was a probe, searching for weakness, confirmation that I'd remained exactly where he'd left me, beneath him, beneath all of them. I am. I smiled, refusing to give him the satisfaction of seeing me flinch. And you? I heard your father's company expanded. 3 new territories. Pride radiated from him like heat. I'm heading the Northern Division now. We just closed a deal with the Shadowmere Pack. Biggest merger in a decade. Of course he was. Daniel had always been destined for greatness, not through merit, but through birthright. The son of an alpha, raised to lead, to conquer, to take what he wanted without apology. He'd taken my heart once, then discarded it when someone better came along. Someone whose bloodline could elevate his status rather than, as he'd so delicately put it, complicate it. That's impressive, I said, and meant it. Whatever else Daniel was, he was competent. Ruthless, but competent. Still no husband, though? His head tilted, that cruel playfulness dancing in his eyes. I thought surely by now someone would have snapped you up. You were always so dedicated, so determined to prove yourself. The words landed like stones in still water, sending ripples of old pain through my chest. Around us, conversations continued. Laughter bubbled up from nearby groups. But in this small space between us, the world narrowed to just his mockery and my barely contained fury. No, I said softly. No husband yet. His smile widened. Victory. Confirmation. That's a shame. You know how it is. Women in our world, there's a clock ticking, especially for those without significant family connections. It gets harder every year. I wanted to throw my champagne in his face. Wanted to tell him exactly what he could do with his concern and his condescension. But years of being underestimated had taught me something valuable. Let them think you're weak. Let them think they've won. It makes them careless. I suppose you're right, I murmured, dropping my gaze as if embarrassed. Cassandra and I are expecting our first, he continued, unable to resist twisting the knife. She's from the Moonridge Pack, Alpha's daughter. Strong bloodlines. It's important, you know, for the future, for legacy. Cassandra, the woman he'd left me for. Beautiful, connected, perfect. Everything I wasn't. Congratulations, I managed, and was proud of how steady my voice sounded. I'm sure you'll be very happy. We are. He glanced across the room, where a stunning brunette stood surrounded by admirers. But hey, don't give up hope. Maybe you'll find someone who doesn't mind the circumstances. Someone looking for a partnership rather than what? The question came from behind me, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Daniel's face went pale. Actually pale. The color draining so fast I wondered if he might pass out. His gaze fixed on someone, over my shoulder, and the arrogance melted into something I'd never seen on his features before. Fear. I turned slowly, heart hammering against my ribs, and found myself looking up, way up, into eyes the color of winter storms. Gray, cold, infinite. They belonged to a man who commanded space simply by existing in it. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair that fell carelessly across his forehead, and features that were striking in their severity. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than my yearly salary, but it was the way he carried himself that made the room feel suddenly too small. Power radiated from him like gravity. Not the borrowed authority Daniel wielded through his father's name, but something fundamental, primal, undeniable. An alpha. A real one. And he was standing close enough that I could feel the heat of him at my back, could smell cedar and winter air and something wild that made my pulse spike in ways that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with a recognition I didn't understand. Adrian. Daniel's voice cracked slightly on the name. I didn't realize you were attending tonight. Adrian. The name whispered through my mind like a half-remembered dream. Adrian Frost. I'd heard it before, of course. Everyone had. The Alpha King of the Northern Territories. Ruler of the largest pack alliance in the country. Reclusive, ruthless, powerful beyond measure. There were stories about him, rumors that ranged from the reasonable to the fantastical. And he was standing behind me like a wall between Daniel and whatever he'd been about to say next. Clearly, Adrian's voice was deep, controlled, carrying the kind of authority that made you want to obey before he even issued a command. You were saying something about my wife's circumstances? The words hit the air like thunder. Wife, my wife. The room tilted. Or maybe I did. I felt his hand settle at the small of my back, steadying, possessive, warm through the thin fabric of my dress. Daniel's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. Your wife? Is there an echo in here? Adrian's tone could have frozen fire. Yes. My wife. Emma Frost. How did he know Daniel knew her as Emma Clark? How did he know any of this? My mind spun, trying to make sense of what was happening, but every thought scattered the moment Adrian's thumb traced a small, deliberate circle against my spine. A gesture of comfort, of claim, of protection. I had no idea, Daniel stammered. She never mentioned, I didn't realize that the woman you were just insulting is the Luna Queen of the Northern Territories? Adrian's smile was a dangerous thing, all teeth and promise of violence. No, I imagine you didn't. Emma has always been modest about her position. It's one of the many things I admire about her. The ballroom had gone quiet, not silent. That would have been too obvious. But conversations had hushed, attention drifting toward our small circle like moths to flame. People were staring, whispering, pulling out phones. This would be everywhere by morning. Daniel stepped back, nearly stumbling over his own feet. Excuse me. Congratulations on the marriage. He fled, actually turned and fled through the crowd like a rabbit catching scent of a wolf. I stood frozen, aware of every point where Adrian's body nearly touched mine, aware of the entire room watching, aware that my life had just been turned completely upside down by a man I'd never met who'd just claimed me as his wife, in front of everyone who'd ever doubted I was worth anything at all. Play along, Adrian murmured, his lips close enough to my ear that his breath stirred my hair. I'll explain everything, but right now, we need to leave before the press descends. The press? I managed to whisper back. They've been trying to photograph my wife for months. His hand slid from my back to my hand, fingers lacing through mine with startling intimacy. We've kept the marriage private until now. He began guiding me toward the exit, and the crowd parted like water before us. Faces blurred past, shock, envy, confusion, respect. All the people who'd overlooked me, dismissed me, treated me like I was invisible. They were seeing me now. "I don't understand," I breathed as we reached the hallway outside the ballroom. "I know." He didn't slow his pace, leading me toward a private elevator at the end of the corridor, and "I promise I'll explain, but Emma..." He stopped suddenly, turning to face me fully, those storm-gray eyes searching mine with an intensity that stole my breath. "I need you to trust me for the next few hours. Can you do that?" I should have said no. Should have demanded answers immediately. Should have run back into that ballroom and told everyone it was a misunderstanding, a lie, a mistake. But something in his gaze held me captive. Not force. Something else. Something that felt like recognition. Like he'd been searching for me as desperately as I'd been searching for a place to belong. "Why?" I asked. "Why would you do this? You don't even know me." A flicker of something passed across his features. Pain, maybe. Loneliness. "Don't I?" The elevator doors opened behind him with a soft chime, and despite every logical reason to refuse, despite the insanity of the situation, despite everything I thought I knew about my own life, I nodded. His shoulders dropped slightly, relief softening the hard lines of his face. "Thank you." He drew me into the elevator, and as the doors slid closed, shutting out the world and all its questions, I caught our reflection in the polished metal. We looked like we belonged together. Like this, his hand in mine, our bodies angled toward each other, his presence wrapped around me like armor, was exactly right. And that terrified me more than anything else that had happened tonight. The elevator descended in silence, punctuated only by the soft hum of machinery and my racing heartbeat. Adrian stood beside me, still holding my hand, his thumb occasionally brushing across my knuckles in a gesture that seemed almost unconscious. I stared at our reflection, at the way his tall frame dwarfed mine, at how my pale hair caught the elevator's soft lighting like captured moonlight. "Where are we going?" My voice sounded small in the enclosed space. "Somewhere we can talk privately." He glanced down at me, and up close, I could see the fine lines around his eyes, the shadow of exhaustion beneath the commanding exterior. "My car is waiting in the underground garage. We'll go to my hotel suite." Alarm bells should have been ringing. Strange man, private location, too many romance-turned-horror stories started exactly this way. But my instincts, usually so loud when warning me away from danger, remained quiet. Watchful, yes. Cautious, certainly, but not screaming at me to run. "I could scream," I said, testing. "Right now. Security would come running." His lips quirked into something almost resembling a smile. "You could. You'd be perfectly justified. A stranger claims you're his wife, drags you into an elevator. It sounds like the beginning of a bad crime documentary." So why aren't I screaming? The elevator slowed, stopped. The doors opened onto a parking garage that smelled of concrete and exhaust. A sleek black car waited directly in front of us, engine running, a driver standing at attention beside the rear door. Adrian released my hand but stayed close as we walked toward the vehicle. "Because you felt it too," he said quietly. "In the ballroom. That moment when I spoke and you turned around. I had felt it. Something electric, impossible, like touching a live wire and discovering it didn't burn but illuminated. What was that?" "Later." He nodded to the driver, who opened the door. "Please, Emma, give me 1 hour. If you want to leave after that, I'll have you driven anywhere you want to go. No questions. No consequences." The use of my name, my real name, not some formal title, softened something in my chest. I slid into the car's leather interior, and Adrian followed, maintaining a respectful distance between us on the seat. The door closed with a solid thunk, sealing us into hushed luxury. The car moved smoothly into the night. Through tinted windows, I watched the city slide past, familiar streets suddenly strange, like I was seeing them from another life. Maybe I was. Maybe the Emma who'd walked into that reunion had ceased to exist the moment Adrian Frost declared her his wife. "How did you know?" I asked, breaking the silence. "About Daniel. About what he was saying to me." Adrian's jaw tightened. "I arrived late. Saw you standing alone, looking like you were bracing for an execution. Then he approached, and the way he spoke to you. His hands curled into fists on his thighs. I've seen that particular brand of cruelty before. Men who build themselves up by tearing others down. You couldn't have heard what he was saying from across the room. Body language tells a story." He turned to face me fully. His posture was predatory. Yours was defensive but defiant. And when he smiled, you flinched. Just slightly, but I saw it. The observation unsettled me. How long had he been watching? "That still doesn't explain why you claimed I was your wife." "No," he agreed. "It doesn't." We lapsed into silence again. The car turned onto a boulevard lined with high-end hotels, pulling up to one I recognized, the Imperial Grand, where rooms started at $1,000 per night and went up from there. Far above my pay grade, apparently not above Adrian's. The driver opened the door. Adrian exited first, then offered his hand to help me out. His palm was warm, calloused. Not the soft hands of someone who'd never worked, but the hands of someone who'd fought for what he had. Inside, the hotel lobby gleamed with marble and gold accents. Staff members straightened at Adrian's arrival, murmuring greetings that he acknowledged with brief nods. We bypassed the reception desk entirely, heading straight for a private elevator that required a key card. Adrian produced one from his jacket pocket, swiped it, and we stepped inside. This elevator was smaller, more intimate. I could smell his cologne now, subtle, expensive, mixed with his own scent, that made something deep in my stomach tighten with awareness I didn't want to examine too closely. "You're afraid," he observed. "Shouldn't I be?" "Probably." The elevator climbed smoothly. "But you're not afraid of me. You're afraid of what I represent. Change. The unknown. Having someone see you when you've spent so long being invisible." My breath caught. "You don't know me, don't I?" He echoed his earlier question, and this time there was something raw in his voice. "Emma Clark, graduated top of your class from Westbridge Academy despite having no family connections, no pack affiliation, no advantages except a brilliant mind and relentless determination. Turned down 3 offers from major firms to work at a small practice that specializes in pro bono cases for vulnerable pack members. Lives alone, keeps to herself. Visits her mother every Sunday in the care facility across town." The elevator doors opened onto a private foyer. I didn't move. "How do you know all that?" My voice came out steady despite the ice spreading through my veins. Adrian stepped into the foyer, then turned back to face me. "Because I've been looking for you for 3 months." The confession hung between us like a held breath. He gestured toward the double doors leading to what I assumed was the suite. "Please, let me explain properly." Against every shred of common sense, I followed him inside. The suite was obscene in its luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. Artwork that probably cost more than my student loans. But Adrian ignored all of it, moving directly to a bar cart and pouring 2 glasses of amber liquid. "Whiskey?" he said, offering me one. "You'll want it for this conversation." I took the glass but didn't drink, settling onto the edge of a cream-colored sofa. Adrian remained standing, staring out at the city lights, his shoulders tense beneath the expensive suit. "I'm dying," he said suddenly quietly. The words struck like a physical blow. "What? Not today, not tomorrow. But soon." He took a long drink from his glass. "A curse placed on my bloodline generations ago. Every alpha king in my family reaches a certain age, and then deteriorates. My father lasted until 43. I'm 39. I set my untouched whiskey on the coffee table with shaking hands. "I don't understand what this has to do with—" "There's a way to break it." He turned to face me, and in his eyes I saw a desperation that made my heart ache. "A bond. A true bond. Not a political arrangement or a marriage of convenience. Something real. Something powerful enough to counteract ancient magic. A mate bond," I whispered, the pieces clicking into place. "Yes." He moved closer, crouching down so we were eye level. "I've searched for years, met hundreds of potential matches, hoped something would spark. Nothing. Until 3 months ago, I attended a conference in the city. I was leaving, walking past a small law firm, and I felt you. Through the walls, through the distance. Like recognizing a melody I'd been waiting my whole life to hear. My hands trembled. That's impossible. I thought so too. I had my people investigate, discreetly. Nothing invasive, I swear, just public information. And everything I learned made me more certain. You're unaffiliated, Emma. No pack, no alpha, which means no one knows what you are. What I am. I stood abruptly, needing distance. I'm human, ordinary. There's nothing special about me. You're wrong. Adrian stood as well, but didn't approach. You're Omega. The word hit me like cold water. Omega. I'd heard the term before, in old stories, in whispered legends. Omega wolves were rare, born once in a generation, if that. They were bridges, peacekeepers, the only wolves who could calm an alpha in full rage, who could sense emotions and soothe them, whose very presence brought balance to pack dynamics. They were also myths, fairy tales, not real. I would know, I insisted. I would have shifted, would have felt something. Not if you were suppressed, Adrian's voice gentled. If you grew up without a pack, without anyone to teach you, without alpha energy around to trigger your first shift, you could go your whole life not knowing. Living as human, feeling different but not understanding why, I thought about the strange moments throughout my life. The way I could walk into a room and immediately sense the emotional temperature. How angry people calmed around me without understanding why. The dreams of running through forests on 4 legs that I dismissed as fantasy. Even if that were true, I said slowly, it doesn't explain tonight. Why claim me publicly as your wife? Because I've been trying to approach you properly for 3 months. Frustration crept into his tone. But you're careful, suspicious, you don't date, don't socialize with pack members. Every time I tried to arrange a meeting, something got in the way. And then tonight, I saw you at that reunion. I'd planned to introduce myself properly, to tell you everything. But then that bastard started tearing you down and I just reacted. By lying to everyone, by protecting you. He moved closer, slowly, like approaching a spooked animal. And yes, by claiming what I've wanted to claim since the moment I felt you. I know it's insane. I know I should have done this differently. But Emma, I don't have time for slow and careful. I have months, maybe a year if I'm lucky, and I need you. The raw honesty in his voice cracked something open in my chest. You don't know me, I repeated, but it sounded weaker now. Then let me. He was close enough now that I could see gold flecks in his gray eyes. Stay with me, not forever, not unless you choose it. But give me time to show you what we could be, what you are. Let me teach you about your gifts, help you shift for the first time, introduce you to the world you were meant to be part of. And if the bond doesn't work, if I can't break your curse, pain flickered across his features. Then at least I'll have spent my remaining time with someone who makes me feel alive instead of dying. My throat tightened. This was insane. Completely, utterly insane. 24 hours ago, I'd been a struggling lawyer with a mediocre life and a history of failed relationships. Now a king was asking me to be his salvation. I need time, I managed. To think, to process. Take tonight. Adrian stepped back, giving me space. Sleep here. There are multiple bedrooms. You'll have complete privacy. In the morning, if you want to walk away, I'll make sure everyone knows it was a misunderstanding. I'll protect your reputation, your job, everything. But if you're willing to try, then what? His smile was sad, hopeful, heartbreaking. Then we become the story everyone already thinks we are. Mr. and Mrs. Frost, Alpha King and Omega Queen. Partners in surviving the impossible. I looked out at the city sparkling below us, at the life I'd built from nothing, at the safety of invisibility I'd wrapped around myself like armor. Then I looked at Adrian, powerful, desperate, dying, and saw my own loneliness reflected back at me. 1 week, I heard myself say. Give me 1 week to decide. I'll stay here, learn what I need to learn. But no pressure, no expectations, just honesty. Relief washed over his features like sunrise. 1 week, I can work with that. He offered his hand. Not commanding, just offering. A choice. I took it. And felt the spark again, that electric recognition, like coming home to a place I'd never been. Maybe I was Omega. Maybe he was my fated mate. Maybe this was all some elaborate delusion. But for the first time in my life, someone had chosen me, had seen me, had fought for me. That was worth at least a week of my time. I woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and momentary disorientation so complete, I forgot my own name. The bed beneath me felt like sleeping on clouds. The sheets had a thread count I couldn't begin to guess, and the room smelled faintly of lavender and something else. Cedar and winter air. Adrian. Memory crashed back in waves. The reunion. Daniel's mockery. Adrian's shocking claim. The conversation that had upended everything I thought I knew about myself. Omega. I sat up slowly, taking in the guest bedroom Adrian had shown me to last night, elegant without being cold, decorated in soft grays and whites that somehow felt both luxurious and comforting. My cream dress from the reunion hung carefully on a chair. Someone had retrieved my coat and purse from the hotel's coat check. On the dresser sat a note in strong, angular handwriting. Good morning. Take your time. There are clothes in the closet that should fit. Join me for breakfast when you're ready. The kitchen is straight down the hall, last door on the left. A clothes in the closet. I opened it to find an array of options. Casual wear, business attire, even workout clothes, all in my size. All clearly expensive but not ostentatious. Someone had done their homework. I selected dark jeans and a soft cashmere sweater in pale blue, then spent 20 minutes in the marble bathroom trying to make sense of my reflection. I looked the same. Same pale blonde hair, same blue eyes, same unremarkable features that had never turned heads. But something felt different, like I was seeing myself through a filter that had been removed, revealing details I'd missed before. The kitchen, when I found it, was a chef's dream rendered in stainless steel and black granite. Adrian stood at the stove, dressed in dark pants and a fitted charcoal Henley that emphasized the breadth of his shoulders. He was cooking. Actually cooking, not having food prepared by staff. You cook? I said from the doorway. He glanced back, and his expression softened when he saw me. I do. Living alone for years, you either learn or live on takeout. I chose to learn. He gestured to the island where plates were already set. I hope you like omelets. I made enough for an army because I wasn't sure what you'd want. The domestic normalcy of the scene contrasted so sharply with last night's drama that I almost laughed. Here was the Alpha King of the Northern Territories, the most powerful wolf in the country, making me breakfast in his hotel suite like we were ordinary people on an ordinary morning. Omelets are perfect, I said, sliding onto one of the bar stools. He plated the food with surprising finesse. Fluffy eggs filled with vegetables and cheese, fresh fruit on the side, toast that looked homemade. The smell made my stomach growl. I'd been too nervous to eat at the reunion. Coffee or tea? He asked. Coffee, black, please. He poured from a French press, then settled across from me with his own plate. For a few minutes, we ate in comfortable silence. The food was excellent, but I barely tasted it, too aware of his presence, of the questions burning in my mind. So, I finally said, setting down my fork. Where do we start? Adrian took a sip of his coffee, considering. I think we start with the truth. All of it. You have questions? Ask them. Anything you want to know. How does the curse work? Specifically. His jaw tightened, but he answered. It manifests gradually. First, the strength fades. Then the senses dull. Eventually the alpha presence itself dims until there's nothing left but a shell. My father. At the end. He paused, pain flickering across his features. He forgot who he was, forgot his own name. He died not knowing he'd ever been king. Horror crawled up my spine. That's cruel. The witch who cursed us thought so too. My great-great-grandfather killed her daughter, an innocent woman, caught in the crossfire of a territorial dispute. The witch made sure every alpha in our line would suffer as she'd suffered, watching someone you love fade away, powerless to stop it. But a mate bond can break it? According to legend, yes, true love, freely given, can override blood magic. But it has to be real. A political marriage or forced bond won't work. That's why I've never married, never claimed anyone. I was waiting for, he met my eyes, for you. The weight of that statement settled over us. What if I'm not actually Omega? What if you're wrong? Then I'm wrong, and we figure out plan B. His tone was matter of fact, but I saw the fear lurking beneath. But I don't think I am. Emma, I've been Alpha King for 15 years. I know power when I feel it, and you... He shook his head, almost wonderingly. You're like standing in the eye of a storm. All that chaos and rage that comes with being Alpha. When I'm near you, it quiets. I thought about last night, about the way his tension had seemed to drain when I'd agreed to stay. I felt that too, when you touched me, like something settled inside my chest that had been restless my whole life. That's the bond recognizing itself. He leaned forward slightly. I know this is overwhelming. Trust me. I've had 3 months to adjust to the idea and I'm still processing. But I meant what I said. 1 week. No pressure. We'll take this at whatever pace you need. What would this week look like, practically speaking? Adrian seemed to relax slightly at the practical question. Today, I'd like to introduce you to 2 people, my beta, Nash, and my head of security, Rowan. They're my closest advisors and friends. They need to know what's happening, and they can help answer questions I might not think to address. Okay. That seemed reasonable. And after that? That depends on you. If you're willing, I'd like to try triggering your first shift. It's easier with another wolf present, especially an alpha. We'd need to go somewhere private, somewhere you'd feel safe. He hesitated. There's a property about an hour north. Private land, forested. It belonged to my mother. The mention of his mother surprised me. Is she... She died when I was young. The curse took my father quickly after that. I think he lost the will to fight it without her. Adrian's voice carried old grief. But she loved that property, said it felt peaceful. I think you'd like it. I imagined running through forests, feeling wind in my fur, experiencing the shift that every wolf took for granted. Terror and exhilaration warred in my chest. What if I can't do it? Then we try again another day. Or we don't. And we find other ways to explore what you are. He reached across the island, palm up, offering, Emma, I need you to understand something. Yes, I need this bond to survive, but I won't force you into anything. Your consent, your comfort, your choice, those matter more than my life. That's a terrible deal for you. His smile was sad. Maybe. But I've lived long enough to know that some things are worse than dying. Becoming the kind of man who would force someone into saving him. That's one of them. I placed my hand in his, felt that electric spark travel up my arm. His fingers closed gently around mine, and for a moment we just sat there, connected, breathing in sync. A knock at the suite's door broke the spell. Adrian squeezed my hand once before releasing it. That'll be Nash and Rowan. Ready? Was I? Ready to meet his inner circle, to step further into this impossible situation, to become someone I'd never imagined being? No. But I nodded anyway. Adrian opened the door to reveal 2 men who couldn't have been more different. The first, Nash I assumed, was lean and sharp-featured with light brown hair and intelligent hazel eyes. He carried himself with quiet confidence, dressed business casual in slacks and a button-down. The second man, Rowan, was built like a tank, all muscle and controlled power, with close-cropped dark hair and a scar running through one eyebrow. He wore tactical pants and a black shirt that showed arms covered in tattoos. Both men stopped short when they saw me, their eyes widening in shock. Holy shit, Nash breathed. You actually found her. Language, Adrian chided, but there was warmth in his voice. Emma, this is Nash Garrett, my beta and the poor soul who keeps my schedule from imploding, and Rowan Cole, who's kept me alive through more assassination attempts than I care to count. 347, Rowan said in a deep rumble, stepping forward to offer his hand. But who's counting? His handshake was firm but careful, and when our skin touched, his eyes widened slightly. Well, damn. Adrian wasn't exaggerating. Nash pushed past Rowan, practically vibrating with energy. It's an honor, truly. We've been looking for you for months. Well, Adrian has. We just facilitated. But you're here. You're real. Do you know what you are yet? Has he told you about the curse? The bond? This is incredible. The pack is going to lose their minds. In a good way. Mostly. Nash, Adrian said firmly. Breathe. Nash snapped his mouth shut, looking chagrined. Sorry, it's a character flaw. I get excited. Despite my nervousness, I found myself smiling. It's fine. And yes, Adrian explained about the curse and about me possibly being Omega. The word still felt strange in my mouth. Not possibly, Rowan said, settling onto the couch with the ease of someone comfortable in his own skin. You're broadcasting calm like a radio signal. The minute you opened the door, my wolf settled. That doesn't happen. I've been on edge for 3 weeks dealing with a territory dispute, and suddenly I feel like I could take a nap. Really? I looked between the 3 men, searching for deception and finding none. I'm not doing anything. That's the point, Nash explained, taking a seat beside Rowan. Omegas don't have to try. It's what they are. You balance pack energy naturally. It's a gift, and an extremely rare one. Adrian guided me to sit in the armchair, then leaned against its side, close enough that I could feel his warmth, a united front. I asked you both here because Emma has agreed to give this 1 week. In that time, we need to maintain the fiction from last night, that we're married and have been for a while. Already handled, Nash said, pulling out a tablet. I've been working since 3 a.m. We've created a complete backstory. You met 2 years ago at a charity function. Courtship was private. Adrian's preference for discretion is well documented. Marriage 6 months ago, small ceremony, immediate family only. We've seeded the story with trusted sources, and it's already spreading through the right channels. I stared at him. You created an entire fake history in 8 hours? 7.5, actually. I'm very good at my job. Nash's grin was unrepentant. The beauty is that it's mostly true. Adrian did attend that charity function. You were working late that night at your firm 3 blocks away. It's plausible you could have met. We're just filling in details that no one can disprove. What about my job? My apartment? I can't just disappear from my life. You took a week of vacation, requested it 3 weeks ago for personal reasons, Nash said smoothly. Your apartment is being watched by our security to ensure no one bothers your space. Your mail will be collected and forwarded. As far as anyone knows, you're on a belated honeymoon with your husband. The efficiency was both impressive and terrifying. These people had reshaped my entire life overnight. And if I decide after a week that I want out? Silence fell. Adrian's hand found my shoulder, a gentle weight. Then Nash works his magic in reverse. We announce an amicable separation, cite irreconcilable differences. Your reputation stays intact. We'll even provide a generous settlement to ensure your financial security. I don't want your money. I know. His thumb traced a small circle on my shoulder, unconscious comfort. But I'd feel better knowing you were taken care of, regardless of what happens. Rowan leaned forward, elbows on his knees. For what it's worth, I've known Adrian for 20 years, since we were kids training together. He's the most honorable person I know. If he says he'll protect you, he will, with his life if necessary. The sincerity in his voice made my throat tight. These men weren't just employees. They were family, and they were trusting me with someone they clearly loved. Okay, I said quietly. What's the plan for today? Adrian's relief was palpable. We'll spend the morning here, getting you comfortable with the idea of the bond. This afternoon, if you're willing, we drive to the property, see if we can trigger your shift. And if the media comes looking for us? Nash's smile turned sharp. Let them try. This suite is registered under a shell corporation. As far as anyone knows, the Alpha King and his new queen have vanished for a private celebration. Very romantic, very exclusive. The press will eat it up. I looked at the 3 men, an Alpha King fighting a curse, a beta who could rewrite reality with spreadsheets and spin, and a warrior who dedicated his life to protecting them both. They were offering me a place in their world, a purpose, a belonging I'd never had. It should have felt like a trap. Instead, it felt like possibility. "All right," I said, decision crystallizing. "Let's do this. Let's see if I really am what you think I am." Adrian's smile was like sunrise breaking through storm clouds. "Thank you, Emma, for trusting us, for trying." "Don't thank me yet," I replied, but couldn't stop my own small smile. "You might regret this by the end of the week." "Impossible," he said softly. And when our eyes met, I felt it again. That spark, that recognition. Maybe this was insane, but it was also the most alive I'd felt in years, and that had to count for something. The drive north took us through gradually changing landscape. City giving way to suburbs, suburbs yielding to farmland, and finally farmland dissolving into dense forest. Adrian drove himself, having dismissed his driver with assurances we'd return by evening. Nash and Rowan followed in a separate vehicle, maintaining distance but staying close enough to provide security if needed. I watched the trees thicken through the window, trying to calm the butterflies rioting in my stomach. Somewhere in those woods, I was supposed to transform into something I'd never been, unlock a part of myself I hadn't known existed. The concept felt simultaneously thrilling and terrifying. "You're quiet," Adrian observed, glancing over from the driver's seat. "Nervous," I admitted. "What if nothing happens? What if I can't shift? Then we try again tomorrow, or next week, or never, if you don't want to." His hand found mine across the center console. "Emma, there's no failure here. Whatever happens or doesn't happen, it doesn't change what you are, but it changes whether I can help you." His fingers tightened around mine. "Let's make a deal. For the rest of today, we don't think about the curse or the bond or what I need. This is about you. About discovering a part of yourself. Can we focus on that?" The genuine care in his voice made my chest ache. When had anyone ever made my needs the priority? "Okay. Just about me. I can do that." The property, when we reached it, took my breath away. A long gravel drive led through towering pines to a clearing where a cabin sat nestled against the forest's edge. Not a cabin, really. More like a small house, all natural wood and large windows designed to bring the outside in. Behind it, the forest stretched endlessly, and I could hear the distant sound of running water. "It's beautiful," I breathed as Adrian parked. "My mother designed it herself." He stared at the cabin with obvious affection. She said cities made her feel caged. This was her sanctuary. We got out, and I turned in a slow circle, taking it all in. The air smelled different here, pine and earth and something wild that called to a part of me I was only beginning to acknowledge. My skin prickled with awareness, and I felt something shift deep in my chest. "You feel it," Adrian said, watching me closely. "The pull of the forest. It's like being homesick for a place I've never been." Nash and Rowan pulled up, parking beside Adrian's car. They emerged looking more relaxed than they had in the city, their postures loose in a way that spoke of familiarity with this place. "We'll secure the perimeter," Rowan announced, already scanning the tree line with professional assessment. "Give you privacy for the shift." "Thank you." Adrian turned to me. "Ready to go inside first? Get settled?" The cabin's interior matched its exterior. Warm wood, comfortable furniture, everything designed for function and comfort, rather than ostentation. A stone fireplace dominated one wall, and the kitchen, though small, looked well equipped. But the real attraction was the wall of windows overlooking the forest, blurring the line between inside and out. "There are clothes in the bedroom," Adrian said, gesturing down a short hallway. "Comfortable things you can move in. Take your time changing. I'll be on the back deck when you're ready." The bedroom continued the cabin's aesthetic. Simple, beautiful, peaceful. I found athletic wear in the closet as promised, changing into flexible leggings and a fitted tank top. Clothes I could move in, clothes that wouldn't restrict if my body decided to become something other than human. My reflection in the mirror showed a woman on the edge of transformation in more ways than one. My eyes looked brighter, my skin almost luminous. Or maybe that was just fear and anticipation playing tricks on my perception. I found Adrian on the back deck as promised, standing at the railing and staring into the forest. He'd changed too, wearing track pants and a simple t-shirt that emphasized the powerful lines of his body. When he heard me approach, he turned, and something heated flashed in his eyes before he controlled it. "You look ready," he said. I looked terrified. That too. His smile was gentle. "Come here." I joined him at the railing. Up close I could smell him, that cedar and winter scent that had become familiar over the past day. Comforting, despite the impossibility of everything. "I need to explain how this works," he said. "The first shift is usually triggered by strong emotion or alpha presence. Since you've been suppressed your whole life, we'll need to coax your wolf forward. I'll use my alpha energy to call to her, and you'll need to be open to the change. Will it hurt?" "The first time usually does. Your body isn't used to the transformation. But it gets easier with practice, and after a few shifts, it's as natural as breathing." He turned to face me fully. "I'll be with you the entire time. I won't let you get hurt. What if I lose control? What if my wolf is dangerous?" Adrian's expression softened impossibly. "Omega wolves aren't dangerous. Not in the way you're imagining. You might feel overwhelmed by instincts, might want to run or explore, but you won't hurt anyone. It's not in your nature." I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. "Okay. What do I need to do?" "Close your eyes. Focus on your breathing. Let yourself feel everything. The fear, the excitement, all of it. Don't push any of it away." His voice dropped, taking on a quality that made my skin tingle. "I'm going to let my alpha presence out. It might feel intense, but remember, I'm not trying to dominate you. I'm trying to call to your wolf, to let her know it's safe to come forward." I closed my eyes, immediately hyper-aware of every sound. Birds calling in the distance, wind rustling through pine needles, Adrian's steady breathing beside me. My own heartbeat was loud in my ears. Then I felt it. Power, rolling off Adrian in waves like heat from a fire. Not threatening, but undeniable. Ancient and primal and completely inhuman. My first instinct was to step back, to run, but I held my ground, forcing myself to stay open to the sensation. Something inside me responded. A presence I'd never consciously felt before, waking up like it had been sleeping my entire life. It stretched, curious, reaching toward the power calling to it. "That's it," Adrian murmured. "Let her come forward. Don't be afraid." The presence grew stronger, and with it came sensations I couldn't name. My skin felt too tight, my bones aching with the need to reshape. I gasped, eyes flying open, and found Adrian watching me with intense focus. "It's okay," he said. "You're safe." Let it happen. Pain lanced through me, sharp and sudden, and I cried out. My body convulsed, and I would have fallen if Adrian hadn't caught me, lowering us both to the deck. He held me as my bones began to shift, as muscles tore and reformed, as everything human about me started to change. It hurt. God, it hurt so much. But beneath the pain was something else. Exhilaration, rightness. Like I'd been holding my breath for 27 years and was finally allowed to exhale. "Breathe through it," Adrian coached, his voice steady even as I dug my fingers into his arms hard enough to bruise. "You're doing beautifully. Just a little more." My vision blurred, then sharpened. Colors became more vivid, scents exploded across my awareness. Pine and earth and Adrian's scent, so much stronger now, calling to something deep in my changing bones. My hearing amplified until I could track a squirrel moving through branches 50 feet away. And then, with a final surge of pain that left me gasping, it was done. I stood on 4 legs instead of 2, looking up at Adrian from a dramatically lower vantage point. My body felt alien and perfect all at once. Powerful muscles, sharp senses, a tail that swished experimentally behind me. "Emma." Adrian's voice was thick with emotion. He knelt in front of me, and I saw tears tracking down his face. "Look at you. You're magnificent." I tried to respond, and got a soft whine instead. Right. No vocal cords for human speech. But the sound conveyed what I wanted. Wonder, fear, confusion, joy, all mixed together. Adrian slowly extended his hand, letting me sniff. His scent was overwhelming this close, making my wolf want to press against him, to seek comfort and connection. When I did, leaning my head against his palm, his breath caught. "Your fur," he whispered. "It's silver, like moonlight." I glanced down at myself, or tried to. Caught glimpses of pale silver fur, nearly white, covering a frame that was smaller than I expected. Where Adrian's wolf would be massive and dark, I was delicate, almost ethereal. Omega wolves are always lighter, Adrian explained, as if reading my thoughts. Built for speed and agility rather than fighting. You're perfect, Emma. Absolutely perfect. A sound behind us made my ears swivel. Nash and Rowan emerged from the tree line, both stopping dead when they saw me. Nash's mouth fell open. Rowan actually stumbled, catching himself against a tree. "Holy shit," Nash breathed, then louder. "Adrian, her aura. Can you feel it?" "I feel it." Adrian's hand still rested on my head, fingers buried in my fur. "She's broadcasting peace like a beacon." I didn't know what they meant, but I could sense their emotions clearly now. Nash's excitement, Rowan's protective satisfaction, Adrian's overwhelming relief, and something deeper. Something that felt like recognition and longing and hope all woven together. My wolf responded to that emotion, pressing closer to Adrian, offering comfort instinctively. He made a sound low in his throat, almost a purr, and his other hand came up to cradle my face. "Would you like to run?" he asked softly. "I can shift, show you the territory. Or we can stay here if you're not ready. Run." The word resonated through my new body like a bell. Yes, I wanted to run. Wanted to feel what these muscles could do. Wanted to experience the forest the way I was meant to. I yipped softly, dancing back a few steps in clear invitation. Adrian's smile was brilliant. "All right then. Give me a moment." He stood and stepped back, and I watched in fascination as his body began to change. Unlike my painful first transformation, his was smooth, practiced, the shift of someone who'd done this thousands of times. Bones reformed, muscles reshaped, and within seconds, a massive black wolf stood where Adrian had been. He was enormous, easily twice my size, with fur like midnight and eyes that still held that storm gray color. Power radiated from him, unmistakable alpha energy that should have terrified me. Instead, my wolf recognized him. "Mate," something inside me whispered. "Mine." Adrian, the wolf, made a chuffing sound and bounded toward the forest. After a heartbeat's hesitation, I followed. Running on 4 legs was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. Instinct guided each step, each leap over fallen logs, each weaving turn through the trees. The world was a symphony of scents and sounds, every detail sharp and clear. I could smell prey hiding in burrows, could hear water running somewhere ahead, could sense Adrian matching his pace to mine, staying close but letting me lead. We ran for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes before breaking into a clearing beside a stream. I slowed to a stop, panting, and realized I was grinning, or whatever the wolf equivalent was. Joy bubbled up through me, pure and uncomplicated. Adrian shifted back to human form beside me, unself-conscious in his nudity. "Ready to shift back? Think about your human form. Picture yourself on 2 legs. Your wolf will understand." I tried, focusing on my human body, and felt the change begin. This transformation was easier, less painful, my body recognizing a shape it knew. Within moments, I knelt on the forest floor, human again, laughing breathlessly. "That was incredible," I gasped. "I've never felt anything like that." Adrian crouched beside me, offering his shirt to preserve my modesty. "You're a natural. Most first shifts end with the wolf panicking or trying to stay in control. You just embraced it." I couldn't help it. I pulled his shirt over my head, drowning in fabric that smelled like him. It felt right. Like I'd been waiting my whole life to run like that. "You had been." He tucked a strand of silver blonde hair behind my ear, the gesture intimate and tender. "Emma, do you feel it now? The bond between us?" I did. Now that I'd shifted, now that my wolf was awake, I could sense it clearly. A golden thread connecting us. humming with energy and possibility. When I looked at Adrian, my wolf recognized him not just as Alpha, but as something more fundamental. "I feel it," I whispered. "Is it always like this? So intense?" "Only with true mates." His hand cupped my cheek, thumb brushing across my skin. "I've waited so long to find you, and you're everything I hoped for, and nothing I expected." The way he looked at me, like I was precious, powerful, perfect, made my heart race for entirely different reasons than fear. "Adrian, A howl split the air. Distant, but clear, and definitely not friendly. Adrian's head snapped up, his body going tense. "That's not one of ours." Rowan's voice carried through the trees. Urgent. "Adrian, we've got company. Multiple wolves approaching fast from the eastern border." The peaceful moment shattered. Adrian was already moving, pulling on his discarded pants with efficient speed. "We need to get you back to the cabin, now." "What's happening?" His expression had gone hard, all Alpha King and no gentle teacher. "Someone knows you're here, and they're coming to see if the rumors are true." We made it back to the cabin in minutes, Adrian practically carrying me the last few yards. Nash was already inside, pacing with his phone pressed to his ear, coordinating something in clipped, efficient sentences. Rowan stood guard at the front entrance, his posture radiating lethal readiness. "How many?" Adrian demanded. "6 that I can count," Rowan replied without taking his eyes off the tree line. "They're staying just outside our perimeter, watching. Pack affiliation? Eastern Ridge, best I can tell from their scent markers." Adrian cursed softly. Eastern Ridge was one of the larger packs, led by an alpha named Garrett Stone, who'd been pushing for more territory and influence for years. If they'd gotten wind of an Omega surfacing and bonding with the Alpha King, they'd absolutely want to investigate. Or worse, interfere. "What do they want?" I asked, hating how my voice shook. Adrian turned to me, his expression softening slightly. "Information, confirmation. You're incredibly valuable, Emma. An Omega hasn't been born in this region for over 70 years. Every pack will want to know if the rumors are true, and some will want to claim you for themselves. But I'm with you. We're—" I stumbled over the word. "Bonded. Not yet. Not fully." His jaw tightened. "The bond exists, but it's not complete. It requires mutual acceptance, a claiming. Until that happens, technically, you're unclaimed territory." The clinical way he said it made my stomach turn. "So I'm what? Up for grabs?" "No." The word came out with alpha command, making everyone in the room straighten instinctively. "You're under my protection, which makes you untouchable, but that won't stop ambitious alphas from testing boundaries." Nash ended his call, looking grim. "Stone himself is out there. He's requesting an audience." "Of course he is." Adrian ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. "He wants to see her. Verify she's real." "So let him look," I said, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. "I'm not going to hide." All 3 men stared at me. Adrian recovered first. "Emma, you don't understand what you're suggesting. If you present yourself, every alpha in the region will know for certain what you are. Your life will never be private again." "Was it ever going to be?" I met his gaze squarely. "The moment you claimed me as your wife, this became inevitable. We can hide here and let them speculate. Or we can control the narrative, show them I'm not afraid, that I'm exactly where I choose to be." Pride flashed across Adrian's features. "You're sure?" "No, but I'm going to do it anyway." I looked down at myself, still wearing only Adrian's oversized shirt, though I should probably put on actual clothes first. Despite the tension, Nash snorted. "Good plan. Hard to project authority when you're dressed like you're in a music video." 10 minutes later, I'd changed into jeans and a sweater from the cabin supplies, and we stood together on the front porch. Adrian remained close, his presence a solid wall of protection at my back. Nash and Rowan flanked us, and I could feel the power radiating from all 3 men, a clear message to whoever was watching. "Show yourself, Stone," Adrian called out, his voice carrying easily across the clearing. "You wanted an audience. You have one." For a moment, nothing. Then 6 wolves emerged from the tree line, moving with the coordinated precision of a trained unit. The lead wolf was massive, his coat a russet brown that spoke of earth and blood. When he shifted, the man who stood in his place was built like a warrior. Broad, scarred, with hard eyes that immediately locked onto me. "Alpha King," Garrett Stone said, his tone respectful but not subservient. "Forgive the intrusion. When rumors spread that you'd found an Omega, I had to see for myself. And now you have." Adrian's voice could have cut glass. "My mate, Emma. Luna Queen of the Northern Territories." Stone's gaze raked over me, assessing. I forced myself to stand tall, to meet his eyes without flinching, even as my wolf stirred nervously inside me. This was a test, I realized, not just for Stone, but for every alpha who would question whether I belonged at Adrian's side. "She's young," Stone observed. "Untrained, newly shifted, if I'm reading the signs correctly. And yet she stands before you without fear," Adrian countered. "What does that tell you?" Something shifted in Stone's expression. Not quite respect, but acknowledgement. That she's either very brave or very foolish. "Both, probably," I said, finding my voice, "but I'm also exactly where I want to be, with the man I choose. If you came here looking for weakness or opportunity, Alpha Stone, you're going to be disappointed." The clearing went silent. Stone's eyebrows rose, and behind him, his pack members exchanged glances. Then, unexpectedly, Stone smiled. "Well, the rumors didn't mention she had teeth. I have many things the rumors didn't mention," I replied, channeling every ounce of confidence I didn't quite feel. "Including the full support of the Alpha King and his territory, which means anyone who threatens me threatens him. I assume you understand what that entails." It was a gamble, speaking with such authority when I'd been a wolf for less than a day, but something in my gut, in my newly awakened Omega instincts, told me that showing weakness now would be disastrous. These men respected strength, respected confidence. Stone's smile widened. "I see why you chose her, Adrian. She's got spirit." He took a step back, a gesture of retreat. "I meant no disrespect, merely wanted to confirm the rumors and extend Eastern Ridge's congratulations on your mating. It's good news for all packs when balance is restored." "Your congratulations are noted," Adrian said, tension bleeding from his shoulders slightly, and reciprocated. "Tell your pack they're welcome to attend the formal announcement ceremony next month." "We'll be honored." Stone gestured to his wolves, who began melting back into the forest. He paused at the tree line, looking back at me one last time. "Guard her well, Adrian. An Omega is a precious thing. There are those who won't be as diplomatic as I've been." Then he was gone, and the clearing fell silent once more. I released a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding, and my knees went weak. Adrian caught me immediately, pulling me against his chest. "You were magnificent," he murmured into my hair. "Absolutely magnificent." I was terrified, I admitted, letting myself shake now that the danger had passed. Being brave doesn't mean not being afraid. It means acting despite the fear. He pulled back to look at me, and the pride in his eyes made my chest tight. "You could have hidden, could have let me handle it, but you stood beside me, met him as an equal. Do you know what that means? That I'm an idiot who doesn't know when to stay quiet." Nash laughed from behind us. "That you're already acting like a queen. Natural authority, refusing to back down. That's exactly what this territory needs." "He's right," Rowan added. "Most newly shifted wolves would have been cowering. You faced down an alpha with decades of experience and made him back off through sheer force of will." I looked up at Adrian, searching his face. "What happens now? He said there would be others who aren't as diplomatic." "Now we make this official." Adrian's expression turned serious. "Emma, I know we said 1 week. I know you needed time to decide. But after today, the word is out. Every pack in the region knows about you. Staying in limbo isn't safe. It makes you a target. I need to ask you something, and I need you to think carefully before you answer." My heart hammered. "What?" "Will you complete the bond with me, not because you're forced to, not because I'm dying, but because you choose this, choose me, choose us?" His hands framed my face, gentle despite their strength. I'm asking you to be my mate, my Luna, my partner in every sense, and I'm asking knowing it will change your life completely. You'll never be anonymous again. You'll carry responsibilities you never wanted. But Emma, I swear to you, I will spend every day making sure you never regret it. I thought about my old life, the tiny apartment, the quiet anonymity, the safety of being invisible. I thought about Daniel's mockery, about years of being overlooked and underestimated. Then I thought about running through forests on 4 legs, about the way Adrian looked at me like I mattered, about Nash's excited acceptance and Rowan's protective loyalty, about the golden thread connecting me to the man who'd chosen me when no one else had. Ask me properly, I whispered. Understanding flooded his features. He sank to one knee right there on the porch, my hand still in his, looking up at me with naked vulnerability that stole my breath. Emma Clark, you are everything I never knew I needed. You're brave and compassionate and stronger than you know. You make me want to be better, to fight harder, to live fully instead of just surviving. I'm asking you to be my mate, my Luna Queen, my partner through whatever time we have. Will you marry me? Really marry me? Not the fiction we told the world, but a true bond that nothing can break? Tears blurred my vision. Yes. Yes, Adrian. I'll marry you. I choose you. I choose this life, this bond, all of it. He surged up, capturing my mouth in a kiss that sent lightning through my veins. The bond between us flared brilliant gold, and I felt it snap into place. Complete, unbreakable, ours. My wolf sang with recognition and joy, and somewhere deep in my chest, I felt his curse fracture, the dark magic unable to withstand the force of genuine love freely given. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Adrian pressed his forehead to mine. I can feel it, he whispered, wonder in his voice. The curse. It's breaking. Emma, you did it. You saved me. We saved each other. I corrected softly. You gave me a place to belong. That's worth more than breaking any curse. Nash cleared his throat dramatically. So, should I start planning a wedding? Because the media is going to lose their minds when they find out the secret marriage is actually about to become a very public, very spectacular ceremony. I laughed, giddy with joy and relief, and the overwhelming rightness of Adrian's arms around me. Can we have 5 minutes before we start planning my life? You can have all the time you need, Adrian promised, pulling me closer. We have the rest of our lives, after all. And standing there on that porch, surrounded by forest and protected by men who'd become family, I finally understood what it meant to be home. Not a place, but a person. Not safety in invisibility, but strength in being seen. 3 months later, I stood in a formal gown before thousands of pack members, Adrian's hand in mine, as we renewed our vows publicly. No longer the invisible girl from the reunion, but Luna Queen Emma Frost, Omega mate, partner to the most powerful alpha in the territory. Daniel attended, I heard. Watched from the back with his pregnant wife, finally understanding exactly what he'd lost. But I didn't spare him a thought. My attention was entirely on the man beside me, on the bond between us that grew stronger every day, on the life we were building together. Some fairy tales started with once upon a time. Mine started with no husband yet, and ended with I do, forever.